Hey guys, it's Jack. I wanted to let you know that we're starting a new push for subscriptions here on Human Events Daily. So make sure that when you're listening to this podcast, you hit subscribe, you download it, and you share it with 5 of your friends. Make sure they're all going and downloading as well, because we need to get the signal out as much as possible. Look, we've done so much over the past couple of years since this show started, and we're only going to do so much more. Let's get it. Never ever stop fighting, no matter what.
We will achieve American greatness. We are just getting started.
Welcome back to Justice for Charlie. We have Jack Posobiec on the ground at the courthouse in Provo, Utah. Benny, I know you had a question for him before the break that got cut off, so go ahead, please.
Yeah, Jack, first of all, we're with you. We stand with you throughout this whole time. But, I wanted to touch on just a few weeks ago, you and I were in the West Wing of the White House, and we were having conversations about, the upcoming months and what this trial looked like. And you said you knew, you've been following this. You had, you've seen the evidence, you've seen certain things, and you're very confident in what you've seen. Has there been anything these past couple of days that have surprised you, or stuff that's been, just different than what you thought?
I think, if anything, what's new is that we're realizing that the case that the prosecutors have put together is something that they are going to be releasing on their own schedule. They're being meticulous about that, and the evidence that's been collected is far beyond that which has already been released to the public or even released here at the trial. And of course, this has been the biggest fight as we sit there. Now, there are certain times where I can see things on, in the courtroom that the public can't see. And there are other times where there are videos being played that everyone can see, but it's from a, kind of a, canted angle, so people can't see it quite as clearly as we can. And I'll tell you, for example, that high quality footage of Tyler Robinson walking around campus, when I saw it, it's as clear as day on some of those cameras. Now, in addition, some of the cameras, it's very much zoomed out. And I certainly would love if we can get either the raw footage or the zoomed in footage there. I think that that's something where, the judge decided to hold that back, but did publish it. So I think we still have to make media requests for it. I really want to get that footage out there, especially if you can see him in that prone position, crawling forward to the edge, and then, of course, taking the fatal shot. So beyond the specifics there, it's really the sheer amount and volume of evidence that they have collected here, which is far beyond some of the other cases that we see in high profile. For example, the Brian Koberger case out in Idaho with the 4 sorority girls that he hacked to death. In that case, there were a few witnesses of a car. There was a bloody fingerprint, but that was about it. You just didn't have this massive volume and really mountain of evidence that they are slowly but surely unveiling here in court. And I expect that today we're going to get more of that. Obviously, yesterday we got not just the fact that there was a DNA match, but 89% match on the screwdriver, 95% match on the towel to Tyler Robinson, and then, yes, also the minority partial match to Lance Twiggs, of course, being the roommate. And then again, of course, questions today about whether or not we will get to Twiggs' testimony. And of course, the fact that the defense was very, very cagey about letting in any of the information regarding Charlie's political views, specifically relating to marriage, man and woman, gender issues. Obviously, that's something that is clearly going to come up in this case, and that speaks directly to motive.
Yeah, Jack, that's a very, very interesting point you're making. I thought it was really a microcosm of the entire trial, this targeting enhancement. If we don't know what Charlie Kirk stood for, we can't know what the defendant's state of mind was. And I think that the defense attorney got backed into a corner when Judge Graff asked him that question. And it seemed the lid this veil came off of what this case is about. And I really thought that piece of evidence that was being admitted that Judge Graff permitted was actually a wonderful moment, a watershed moment of what we're actually talking about here. And if we're going to extend that a little bit bigger, Jack, 30,000 feet, And because we are talking this whole hour is justice for Charlie, I want to ask you a question that I asked your brother Kevin yesterday. What does justice for Charlie look like? We know that the death penalty is on the table. I know that you're a devout Catholic. I know that this matters to you. But if the prosecution proceeds with the death penalty and he were to receive that, is that justice, or what is justice in your eyes?
Well, look, Bo, I mean, nothing will ever make this right. Nothing will ever give us our friend back. Nothing will ever give us back our leader at Turning Point, the guy who was such a leader and a fighter for this country. So no amount of response will ever give us back what was taken. And when I think of Erica and I think of their children and the fact that that's a boy and a girl who are so young, and of every single moment that was robbed from them, not just when it happened, but for the rest of their lives. He'll never be able to walk his daughter down the aisle. He'll never be able to teach his son to throw a baseball or throw a football, as incredible as he was, or teach them both to play basketball, which he was also an incredible champion at. That's a debt. That's a serious debt that needs to be paid to a real family who are suffering real trauma because of all this. But more than that, this was an attack on our civilization and our society and our way of life, because it was an attack on freedom of speech. It was an attack on free debate. It was an attack on our very system of having a republic the way that we have it. And as such, that's why I've always said, for assassins specifically, the death penalty should absolutely not just be warranted, but always sought, because it's an attack on our very way of life itself.
All right, Jack, that's important. Sorry to cut you off there, Benny. I know they're telling me that I got to go to break, but thanks for being with us and providing that insight. I think we're all thinking about this, and I think you're right, Jack, to say that there really is no true justice, that it doesn't bring our friend back. It doesn't bring the leader back. There's so much in debt that we owe that the vacuum that's filled can't be filled by any one person. I think all of us, we probably have to collectively have to rise up in the best way that we can. And Jack, you've been at the forefront of that, and we certainly salute you for it. So, Jack, thanks for your observations right now, and I guess we have to go to Vice President J.D. Vance. So, Jack, thanks for all the good work that you're doing right there, and we'll make sure to stay tuned to your presentation tonight at 9. And now we go to Vice President J.D. Vance.
Tanks, they weren't getting them because the fraudsters were getting rich off the generosity of the American taxpayer. So you know what we did? We came in and we said, we are not sanctioning a single one of these companies to defraud the American people. If you say that you're going to provide medical equipment to our seniors, we're going to confirm that you're actually delivering product before we pay a single one of those bills. And we save billions of dollars. And you know what happened is we had great support from Brian Stile and Derek Van Orden and all of the other great congressional representatives to keep that money out of the hands of fraudsters, to ensure that it went to the seniors who needed it. And you know what happened? Not a single congressional Democrat stood up and said, we are going to fight back against fraud. And that's the problem with modern congressional Democrats. You know, I was raised by blue-collar Democrats. They were Christian, patriotic people, union steel workers who loved the United States of America. But my mama and papa, the people who raised me, they supported Democrats because they felt like the Democrats of 20, 30, 40 years ago had better policy. Now, you may agree or disagree with that, but today, this is not about better or worse policy. This is about who is supporting the fraudsters and who's supporting you. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if Mama and Papa were alive today, they would not recognize the modern Democratic Party in 2026. They would not recognize a party that tries to send your money to illegal aliens instead of our hardworking seniors who earned those benefits and ought to have access to them. They would not recognize a party that raises your taxes so that we can give more money to the fraudsters, and they would not recognize...
Heather. I don't hear anything yet.
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
He is a voice of reason out there that has been gunned down for daring to be an American, to tell the truth, to believe in free speech.
My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children.
He when America needed a hero, God sent us a Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk is a casualty of the political war going on in this country. He was gunned down in cold blood.
The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done.
With a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody.
U.S. media are now reporting that the suspect is 22-year-old Tyler Robinson.
The man charged with assassinating Charlie Kirk was living with a transgender partner.
It was a family member and a family friend who helped deliver Tyler Robinson to law enforcement in Washington County.
Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" Catch!
He believed strongly that we could solve a lot of our differences with just a good old-fashioned conversation.
He was shot for speaking the truth. He was shot for speaking his mind. He was shot for defending the Constitution.
He didn't hate people. He didn't even hate liberals. He just hated intolerance.
He was fighting not just for his own young children, but for all of our children.
Never, ever stop fighting, no matter what. We will achieve American greatness, and we are just getting started.
Welcome to this special presentation of Justice for Charlie, an hour of exploration and analysis. And we are using this hour to dive deep into the Tyler Robinson case so that Human Events Daily can have its own special presentation at 9 p.m. Eastern each night. I'm joined by Benny Ray Harmony in the D.C. area. I'm Bo Davidson, and we also have Jack Posobiec on hand at the courthouse in Provo, Utah. And we want to get right to Jack because we want to get some information, get a live look at what's going on. The trial is supposed to be resuming in about an hour. Jack, are you able to hear me yet?
Yeah, Bo, I've got you. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard because we're here. And normally I'm be on in this time slot. But of course, the last couple of days I've been inside the courtroom. I've got my my notepad right here because there's no phones, there's no electronics in the courtroom. But we've been taking extensive notes. We've been learning a lot. And this is the very courthouse here, the 4th District, Provo, Utah. It's a hot day. And when you're in the courtroom as well, something that, you know, I don't know exactly if people realize or you can quite tell from, you know, seeing it. I posted, and I think my brother Kevin posted as well, some images we found of what the courtroom looks like because of the way they've put restrictions on the live stream. It's a very small room. It's quite small. And you can already see security is around us here. We've got sheriffs. We'll have SWAT team out very soon as more and more people show up. And, of course, as the defendant shows up in the Bearcat. We have SWAT lining the room itself as well. And they're on a, you know, they rotate out. But we've got multiple SWAT officers all over. We've got sheriffs right there in the actual court area. And there's only about 4 rows for the gallery. So about 4, I would say, pews, almost like a pew in church. It's wooden, not particularly comfortable. And when you're sitting there again, you know, you can't get up and leave. You can't, you know, and then come back. You can't, you know, talk. No phones. You've only got, again, your notepad. And of course, myself, I did have my rosary out, and I was saying my rosary at a number of times during this. But you're all right there. So obviously, we're with Charlie's family. Tyler Robinson's family is just 1 row away, right there in the room as well. And then a few feet away from all of us is Tyler Robinson himself, the accused assassin. And so it's very tight quarters. It's very small. And yet the emotions are large. And the impact, of course, is not just national, but international. And it's I have to say, it's just surreal being in that room, seeing what it's like, that something so monumental could be squeezed into such a small place. But what we're going to be going through, of course, today, more evidence expected to come. And in fact, I'm being told that we may, if we get to it, get to the testimony of Lance Twiggs. And that would be a pre-recorded testimony, but it is possible that we could get to that today. And that, of course, is going to speak directly to those gender issues that we saw being debated yesterday. And I believe we have some folks showing up right now. And Kevin, can you tell who that is? Oh, this is Rush Limbaugh's widow. She's actually been here all week, and she's been just been great through all of this, sitting with us. So people are starting to show up and really show their support. Obviously, the president's son, Don Jr., my friend Don, was here sitting with us, and he's been out talking about how he's very much tracking all the evidence on this case. He's digging into what's going on, and he's been out speaking out publicly as well. And I believe we're going to do some videos here later today. And Kevin is our field correspondent. Kevin has been doing great work. The whole RAP team has been doing incredible work this whole week. And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't say to you guys, to Bo and Benny, thank you for all you do for the live coverage of these hearings as well while we're going through all this.
Yeah, Jack, and I know we don't have a ton of time with you left, but I do want to ask you, you mentioned on your special coverage last night talking about tracking Tyler Robinson's movements after the shooting. That was big. How does that get us closer to a conviction since you've been following this evidence so closely?
Right. So what they're going to need to do in order to attain a conviction, and of course we're still months, possibly even years away from a conviction and getting to the actual trial. This is just the pretrial hearing, but in order to attain that conviction, they're going to need to place him at the scene, prove that he was there, prove that he was the one who in fact operated the murder weapon, and prove that he was the one who had, again, that motive and opportunity to be able to do that. So by placing him at the scene where we can all see in this video that there's only one person on that roof, there's only one person on that roof at that moment. They've tracked that person meticulously and methodically throughout the day to be this one individual of Tyler Robinson. And then there's also key pieces of corroboratory evidence that they've been bringing up, things like the car and the license plate of the vehicle. So the license plate being registered to himself and his mother, that's key as well. So now we can prove that the car is in fact his car. There was an officer who had an interaction with Tyler Robinson, I believe the fourth time that he went to campus, early in the morning on September 11th, that time just past midnight. So we know the license plate because the officer even ran it at the time. Then there was another piece of information that came out yesterday that people have been talking about it, the fact that he ate Chick-fil-A, that he purchased Chick-fil-A and ate the Chick-fil-A. And people, of course, questioning how could someone do such a thing? How do you have an appetite when you're planning to do something like that? And of course, I'm right there with you. But I would also point out that him making that purchase, and in fact any purchase, gas or going to stop at the store to buy a drink, all of those purchases, if he used a card, if he used a credit card or a debit card, that is going to be on those financial transactions. So now we can corroborate that he was in fact the person who got Chick-fil-A, because it's going to be right there on those financial statements when they pull those as well. So these are actually key elements that the prosecution is doing as they're building that scaffolding for this case. So the walkthrough, those pieces of corroboratory evidence, and I expect that very soon, Agent Hull mentioned something a few days ago, but I expect that very soon we're going to hear about cell phone tracking as well. And I suspect that's how they knew that he was there at 12:38, just after midnight, because they more than likely tracked his cell phone to that time.
And Jack, just a few weeks ago, you and I were in the West Wing at the White House, and we were kind of talking about this case, talking about everything. And you had said that you know this case in its entirety. You have went through the evidence that's been, that you had seen. You knew this. Has there been anything that surprised you these last 2 days that is maybe new knowledge that you've learned?
Did we drop?
I don't know if Jack, are you able to still,
Jack,
if you're still with us? He might have dropped. All right, well, let's just take this opportunity. I think we lost Jack. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more special coverage of Justice for Charlie. We'll be right back.
Never, ever stop fighting, no matter what.
We will achieve American greatness, and we are just getting started.